make sure we include this. You mark 2 points. Down 2 would be -2, and right 8 would be +8. -2 over 8 can be simplified to -1 over 4, so the answer has to be C. Now let's move on to the next problem. I'm not going to be able to review all of them because some of them, the graphs and stuff won't show up here, so I'll review everything that we can review from it. So over here on this one it says, which one has a positive slope? In this format, you can't tell if it has a positive or negative slope yet. The only way you can do that is to get the y by itself. Once the y is by itself, then the number that touches the x is your slope. So we just have to get the y by itself here. So for example, on the first one, 2y plus 3x equals 8. 2 steps. Take away the x term, so minus 3x on both sides. That leaves you with 2y equals -3x plus 8. And now you can divide everything by the coefficient next to the y. So you divide everything by 2. This is -3 over 2. Is that a positive slope? No, that's a negative slope. So A can't be the answer. Now the next one, we have -6x minus 4y equals 8. We're going to add 6x to both sides. And then we're going to divide by the coefficient on the y, which is -4. Again, this is -6 over 4, not a positive slope. So B cannot be the answer. Now I know that C is the answer, so let me show you why. We have 4x minus y equals 0. Subtract the 4x from both sides. That'll leave you with -y equals -4x. And now, -y, you can't leave it like that. You have to divide by the coefficient, which is -1. -4 divided by -1 is +4. That is your positive slope. So the answer is C. Any questions? Everything doesn't pop up there, but I'm still going to show you. Now, you're going to get this for sure on the EOC, on your SAT when you're going to college. You're going to get this in the table. So you got to do the same thing that you would do on any other problem. Find the slope. Once you find the slope, then you'll know which one of these is the answer, right? But let's start off simple. Whenever the x value is 0, that other number is your y-intercept. So already I know the answer has to be B or D. A could be eliminated, C could be eliminated. You with me? Now, the only thing left to pick between B and D is finding the slope. So we do the same thing. The second y minus the first y over the second x minus the first. So now, 14.6 minus 15 is -0.4. And 10 minus 0 is 10. Now, a fraction means division, so you divide this. 0.4 divided by 10 equals 0.04. So it will be -0.04, which is a fraction. Which one of these has a slope that's a fraction? -25 or that fraction one? It's the fraction one. So B is the answer. If that would have equaled -25, then the answer would have been B. a gimme question, an easy question. What does the M represent in slope-intercept form? We know, first of all, that that letter, M, is always the slope. But also you can remember, whatever number is being multiplied by the x is your slope. So M is slope, you pick B. Now number 5, I'm not going to review because I don't have, see, maybe I can review it. So let me just explain how you would do number 5, even if we can't see all of it. Okay? Positive slope, negative slope. How you pick between those two is simple. From left to right, does the line go up or down? If it goes up from left to right, then the slope has to be positive. You with me? So on the first one, it's a positive slope, and it touches the y-axis down here. Down here are the negative numbers. So the y-intercept has to be negative. So on this one, you should have checked positive slope, negative y-intercept. Now let's go to the next one. So from left to right, this line is going down. So we have to check negative slope on that one. And it touches the y-axis on -2. That's a negative y-intercept, so you would select negative y-intercept here. On this one, from left to right, it goes up. So that's a positive slope, but it touches the y-axis on +3, which is a positive y-intercept. So you would select positive y-intercept for that one. These are just questions that you look at and you answer. You don't have to work anything out. Now let's move on. Now this is important. The x value is always the independent variable. X is usually time. And time doesn't depend on anything. Time happens no matter what. So x has to be the independent variable. You can check independent for that. M, we know, is a slope from the previous question. And the y-intercept is B. So here B, we will check the y-intercept. And the y value is the opposite of the x value. If the x value is the independent variable, then the y value is the dependent variable. That's where the check marks go. Alright, so some of you guys yesterday asked me about this. Oh, what's point slope form? Okay. So, first of all, slope formula, you should have memorized already. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So these two get matched. Another one that you should for sure know is when the y is by itself. When the y is by itself, that's slope-intercept form. So these two get matched up. When the x and the y are on the same side and the constant is on the other side, that is standard form. Another format that we learned in this class. Now in this case, there's only one left. Point slope format. Now, pay attention here. If the point was 2, 3 and the slope was 4, then you would just replace the x value with 2, the y value with 3, and the slope with 4. And everything else stays the same. That would be point slope form from this point and this slope. Alright, so in this case, we have to select from 4 graphs. They tell us the slope is negative 4 over 3. So negative 4 over 3 would be down 4, right 3. So we just need to mark 2 points and see which one has this pattern. You with me? And also it says that it has a positive 2 Y-intercept. So the easiest one to check is the Y-intercept. So let's just go down and check if any of them have the wrong Y-intercept. This one touches on positive 4. Wrong Y-intercept. So we know the answer can't be B. C has a Y-intercept of negative 5, not positive 2. So C also cannot be the answer choice. And now the graph for D touches positive 5 on the Y-intercept. Again, the wrong Y-intercept. So in this problem, you didn't have to do any work. You could have just looked at all the Y-intercepts and saw that the only one with the correct Y-intercept is A. We didn't even have to count the boxes here because the Y-intercept gave us the answer. That happens on a lot of the problems. A lot of the problems, bunch of choices make no sense there. Easy way to get to eliminate choices is with the Y-intercept. Alright, so again on this one we have to choose a graph. They give us the slope, negative 2 over 3, and an x-intercept of positive 2. So x-axis would be right here. Positive 2 on the x-axis is that purple dot. The red line does not go through that purple dot. So we know that A is wrong. This red line touches the x-axis on positive 3. And up here it says that the x-intercept is positive 2, not positive 3. So already A and B could be eliminated. Now C does have a positive 2 Y-intercept right there. So C is a possibility. And now we go to D, it also touches positive 2. So we know we're selecting between C and D. So let's go to C and test out our slope. Our slope on this problem was negative 2 over 3, which would be down 2, right 3. So let's see which one of those goes down 2 and right 3. Let's mark 2 points. So here's one. Here's another one. Down 2 boxes, right 3 boxes. So we know C is the answer. I don't even need to look at D because I know C is the answer. Down 2, right 3 is exactly what it says. Alright, here's another one that we have to select the graph. Y-intercept is negative 1, slope is positive 1 over 3. This one touches negative 1 on the y-axis, so it has the correct y-intercept. But the slope is up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1 would be 3 over 1. That is not the same slope as 1 over 3. So we know A is not the answer. Now we move on to the B graph. Now again, this one has a negative 1 y-intercept, but the slope is negative 3 over 1 because it's down 3, right 1. Again, 1 over 3 is not the same as negative 3 over 1. So already A and B, we know are not choices. Now, on C, it has the correct y-intercept, but the slope is down 1, right 3. The problem with this one is that down 1, right 3 is negative 1 over 3. What we're looking for is a slope that's positive 1 over 3. So we already know because A, B, and C were eliminated, the answer is D. So let's look at why that's the correct answer. That's the correct answer because it touches negative 1 on the y-axis, and that's one of the pieces of information given to us. And then the slope would be up 1, right 3. That would be positive 1 over 3. That's the slope we're looking for. Any questions so far? I can't see the equation here, so we're going to have to skip this question. I'm missing one of the tables here too. So let's skip number 12. Oh, I can do this one. Yeah. Oh,
You got a lesson today?
What?
You got a lesson today?
I'm going to review the test as much as I can. All right, so on this question, let's figure out the equation, right, of the table. Now, in this case, again, you always look at the answer choices. If the slopes were the same slope, then the slope's not going to help you get the answer, right? But if all the slopes are different, that means all I got to do is find the slope, and I can pick my answer choice. So slope formula would be 9 minus 5 over 1 minus negative 1. That would be 4 over 2, which equals 2. So we know the slope for this one is positive 2. You with me? So now, let's write y equals 2x plus b. We get that slope, and we put it in here. And now, plug in an x and a y from the table. So let's plug in 1 and 9. It's easy to plug in. 9 here, 1 here. And now we solve for b. Subtract 2 from both sides, and we get b equals positive 7. So my equation for the top here is y equals 2x plus 7. Now we can answer the question, which has a greater slope and a greater y-intercept? So we know A can be correct because 2 is not greater than 2. It's equal to it. Right? So you know it has to be B, C, or D. Which one of those has a bigger y-intercept than positive 7? Only B, which is 7.5. Which one has a greater slope and a greater y-intercept? So you got to find the equation and just look at it. Alright, so on this one, which is not a function, right? All we're looking for here is the x values. If the x values repeat, it's not a function. If the x values don't repeat, it is a function. So in this case, it's a yes also because the x values don't repeat. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a yes also because the x values don't repeat. So A, B, and C are yeses. Why is D? No. Why is D not a function? Because it has positive 3, positive 3. The x value repeats. If the x value repeats, it is not a function. So the answer is D. questions that you're going to get on the EOC at the end of the year that if you just pay attention this one time, you know you're not getting it wrong. X values repeating, that's all we're looking for. Now in this question, it's the same question, is it a function or not? But they give you graphs. When they give you graphs, all you need to do to figure out if it's a function or not is a vertical line test. You just draw a vertical line down every single box. And then look at your lines. If your graph touches two spots on your vertical line at the same time, it is not a function. In this case, it does not touch twice. It only touches once. So this is, yes, a function. On B, here, they touch one spot. They're good here. But right here, it touches all of these same spots. More than one dot touching your line. So that tells me this is not a function. You with me? Now that I showed you one that is and one that is not, we can answer the question. The question says, which one is a function? Which one is a function? So we already tested out A, and A was a function. So the answer is A. Now let's move on to the next one. Alright, again, which one does not represent a function? This is not. So we're only going to select a no. In this case, it touches once on every vertical line I draw, so that's a yes. Not our answer because we're looking for a no. Now a U is a function because if you draw vertical lines, it never touches more than once. So that would be a yes also. Now in this case, let's skip over to D because D already I can see is a yes, it is a function. A U or a V, vertical line test, it'll always pass. But now over here on C, this is the answer. This is the one that's not a function. Now why? Because if I draw a vertical line right here, it touches two spots. If that ever happens, it's not a function. Alright, so in this case, they give us an equation, and then they give us a graph. They're two separate situations. You're just going to have to compare them later. So function 1 is the equation, function 2 is this graph down here. The equation, I'm going to write it down here next to the graph, and label it. Y equals 3 over 4x plus 1. Y equals 3 over 4x plus 1. This is function 1. This is function 2. Now let's look at the answer choices. Function 1 has a greater rate of change. What does the word rate of change mean? Slope. And a greater Y-intercept. So on A and B and C and D, all they're comparing is the slopes and the Y-intercepts for both. So that tells us all we have to do on the graph is write the equation, because if you have the equation, you'll have both of these pieces of information. So let's start off. Over here, on function 1, let's already write our information because we can see it. The slope is 3 over 4, and the y-intercept is positive 1. It's here for us. It shows us. Once the y is by itself, you can see that information. But now on the graph, the y-intercept is right here in between -2 and -4. So the y-intercept is -3. So the only thing missing in our equation is the slope. Mark 2 points, any 2 points, and get from one point to the other. But in this case, I'm going to mark these 2. Remember, these boxes go up by 2. It goes 10, 8, 6, 4. So we got to count the boxes correctly. In this case, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, which is positive 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. To the right. So now we have the whole equation for that graph. We can compare the slopes and the y-intercepts. So in this case, function 2 is the graph. So here it says function 1 has a greater slope. Let's see if that's correct. 3 over 4. Is that greater than 5 over 8? Do you know how to check that? Which one's greater? You can divide it in a calculator, or you can cross multiply. Like 8 times 3 is 24, 4 times 5 is 20. 24 is greater, so 3 over 4 is greater. So we know that 3 over 4 is greater than 5 over 8, so A so far is correct. Let's keep reading. And a greater y-intercept. So positive 1, is that greater than -3? Yes, it is. So the answer is A off the bat. Because both things are true. Alright, so on this one, again, they want you to compare an equation to a table. So, in order to compare an equation to a table, you have to make the table an equation. So, slope formula, second y minus the first y over second x minus the first. 13 minus 4 is 9. 1 minus 0 is 1. So the slope here is 9. So we have y equals 9x plus b. The y-intercept, I don't have to calculate because I have it here. Whenever the x value is 0, that number associated with it is your y-intercept. So I already have my information. On the first equation, slope is 3, y-intercept is 10. And on the second equation, slope is 9, y-intercept is positive 4. Now we can answer the questions below. Alright, here it says, function A has a greater slope. Let's see if it's correct. A has a slope of 3, B has a slope of 9. That's not right. That's incorrect. Now let's read answer choice B. function b has a greater slope. B does have a greater slope. 9 is bigger than 3. But the problem is, it doesn't say 9 is bigger than 3 there. It says 10 is bigger than 9. So they got the right wordage with the wrong numbers. C is the correct answer. It says that B has a greater slope, which is true, and 9 is the slope that is greater than 3. Our last question here. Madison created two functions. For function A, the value of y is, because y is means y equals 2 less than 4 times x. That would be 4x minus 2. Because less than is an order changer, so it can't be 2 minus 4x. The order has to change to 4x minus 2. Now again, before answering, we have to come up with the equation for b. So let's set it up. 3 minus negative 1 over 3 minus 1. I use the easiest numbers possible always. So now you have 4 over 2, which equals 2. So the slope here is y equals 2. So we're missing the y-intercept, so we have the full equation and be able to answer these questions. So to get the y-intercept, just plug in the x and the y, right where you see x and y. And we solve this. If we solve this, we get b equals negative 3. So now I have my equation. Y equals 2x minus 3. So here are my two equations in the squares. This is equation b. The first one up top is equation A. So now we can answer these questions. Answer choice A says function A and function B have the same rate of change. Do they have the same slope? 4 and 2. No, they don't. So now we go to answer choice B. On answer choice B, it says A has a greater slope than B. A has a slope of 4, B has a slope of 2. A does have a greater slope than B, so the answer is B. Any questions so far? Alright, so what we're going to do now, I have a little activity to do, but before you do the activity, you need to copy down some notes. It's not something I have to say that you write notes. I'm going to project it, and I want you to write down everything you're looking at in the boxes. Alright? I need you to copy down everything you see here. See if I can turn this. That's it. This is all you got to copy right here. Rules for transformation of linear functions. If you don't copy this and attach it to the assignment, you will not get the full grade. So you need to copy this down. Not print it, you need to write it.